Hello there and welcome to Heart Explained Therapy, and today's episode is going to be a little story that I've got which I think makes a lot of sense if you can get into your imagination and see how this is a little bit like life and also a little bit like what you need to do in life. And it contains the story of a circus. If you could picture now a circus, not a modern day circus because that doesn't involve animals and they don't have the freak show anymore, but if you could go back to, I don't know if you've seen The Greatest Showman, if you can go back to an old-fashioned circus and if you can perceive the imagination of walking into that, you will be met with lots of sort of feelings that arise from what the circus contains. Now it contains a humorous part from clown's perspective and sort of the awe and wonder of trapeze artists above you and lion tamers, and that can be connected to sort of fears. And the freak show is a sort of horror, grotesque sort of emotions. It stirs up so much if you start to analyse the story from the perspective of your mind as you go into a circus. Now the reason why I think this is an important sort of analogy or metaphor for life, you have the opportunity to perceive that reality, that experience in this circus from two different perspectives, which I believe is contained in the psyche, which is your adult perspective, how the adult world sees the world, and from the inner child or the childlike person. Now if you think about a child going into a circus, you would be in awe, you would be amazed, and everything would be magical. And I think as you get older, you learn more about the world, but it sort of takes away that magical part of the circus for you. So you kind of know that it's not really magic going on. The lion tamer has practiced and trained these lions probably from a young age, and the trapeze artists are not really flying without the safety net. The safety net is in a place where your eyes are taken away from it, but it's still there, and it's just more of a sort of manipulation process of you to be entertained. Now I think this links to life massively by the fact that we are continuously childlike within us, and the adult within us are constantly going towards the entertainment side of the world. And we have these emotions, the lion tamer, the grotesque parts of life and the in-awe parts of life, the happiness that you can get from a loved one or your child, and all the elements of there that make it a very good metaphor that life is similar to an experience of going to a circus. Now, how can you basically break this down to a point where the experience of all that doesn't have to be from two perspectives? Now the childlike perspective as a child is perfectly fine, but if you still have a childlike perspective on these attachments out in the external world, then you're going to behave more like a child in your reactions to it than like the adult that you are. And I think this is a very big point in today's society. I have a theory that we are all our inner child's, and by this I mean that we've lacked the skills to really sort out and iron out our past traumas and our past experiences. So mentally we haven't really grown up, and we're quite willing to attach to entertaining subjects or experiences to fill this void, to fill this sort of place that we don't really want to explore, and in a higher, subtle sort of way, we don't even know there's an area there to explore within ourselves. It's not a natural thing that we do. And why is this important? Why would that be important on a self-help therapy YouTube channel? Well, for me, what I have seen and learnt is that rather than break down your psyche bit by slowly walking you into past traumatic events and getting you sort of desensitized to life, I kind of find now that I'm trying to teach this more sort of curative awareness about life in general, on how that, yes, we have all these fundamental emotions taking place in this big sort of dome that we call planet Earth, or your personal planet that is within you, that contains everything that's important to you, your family, your friends, your phone is part of this network, your email contacts are part of this network, and the events that you call entertainment are actually like different types of avenues that you would rather sit comfortably in than ever explore anywhere else that's uncomfortable. You never question why you are the way that you are. Now, if you are a kind, sensitive, very mindfulness person anyway, you could say that there's not much for you to really truly explore. But I would argue that even in those sort of positive notions, there'll be things to explore. Why are you sensitive? Why are you mindful? Why do you do the actions that you do? And this will help you grow and expand, and it will make you, when I say grow and expand, I don't just mean that the selfish reasons why I want to grow and expand. It's not for you to write a book or to get a project done that you've always put on the back burner. This is a sort of positive effect from it, but it's not the be all and end all. I think why this is important to look at in such a way where you observe your actions and your behaviours and you question them, you question why you have a tendency to be modest in large groups or to be egotistical in large groups, and you question all these dynamics to the point where you get this growth and expansion. And I think that rather than the selfish individual reasons that happen to be a byproduct of this, it's important to understand that you grow up mentally. Your mental age actually grows up with your physical age. You can become almost ahead of your years, or a very sort of intellectual person. Now, I'm not saying this in the arrogant, intelligent way. I'm saying that if you just get a cleverer mind, you are going to be in a better position, and not just for yourself, for the family that you support, for the people around you. You're going to be this sort of great role model that people come to for not just advice, but to view actions that are worth having in this strange circus that we happen to call life. And like I say, this intelligent sort of expansion, this cleverness that you get, means that you do away with bad habits. You learn more about the things that are important to you. And if you happen to do this from the age of 16, you can see how at the age of 25 you're going to be far greater than the average person at the age of 25 who has stunted their growth. And this isn't just based on an age. You can do this when you're 50, 60. And going back to the circus, I think there's an important sort of understanding that you need to have. You won't do this process unless you need to. Now, this doesn't mean that you need to because the circus is uncomfortable for you and all this change of emotions and your psyche being an inner child psyche and an adult psyche, and you're just confused of what to believe in, and you probably think sometimes your thoughts are completely insane, and this will just make you more alienated from everybody else, which is not what you want. You want to sort of go along with the crowd. You wish that you could. But from the metaphor of the circus, imagine that you have no choice. The circus melts around you. It burns down all around you, and everything that you thought was real has just gone. This is a modern day traumatic event that people come to life coaches for and say, I have this, and at the worst case scenario they have to see psychiatrists and therapists because that circus has melted down, or they just don't believe in the circus existing anymore. And if you have no choice, you will be thrown into this arena where you will be trying to catch up. You'll be trying to learn stuff to solve the madness. And what I'm saying now, if you're not quite at that point, and you're just at a point that just, mooches about and questions sort of things, but believes that you have these traits and you're just stuck like this, you're stuck with this, I can't do my dream because of A, B and C. But I want you to know that you could actually take that circus down yourself. You could question and introspect yourself, and you can do this work which will actually make you a more solid sort of, a person with strength in case the circus does ever burn down. And the likelihood of that actually happening is pretty high because relationships are fragile in this modern day society. It's gone when we are traditionalists and can have strength in these sort of situations. The world is very fragile at the moment, and relationships are, and I think there's a breakdown of communication, even though we've got the best communicative sort of technology that there's ever been. But it's a lack of understanding that's a problem. So it's about learning this sort of true sort of perspective that you can have on the world, and it's not dangerous, it's not uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable if it makes you feel uncomfortable, and that feeling can be looked at, it can be traced back to a certain belief system, a certain environmental habit that you picked up or was passed on to you, and it can make you learn about it and make it a different reality, a different internal dialogue that makes you improve. And I think that the human mind and the human body and the human sort of whole identity is often blinded in this sort of self-improvement, and it can be very selfish and ugly, and it could take sort of prisoners in quite easily if it means that you get one step ahead. And it's a natural part that your mind thinks, it's instinctual behaviour. And I'm saying if you can break that down now whilst you're in a good place or an average place, or you can start to do it now in a toxic place, then you will build the foundations for a more rounded future you, which can only do you and your family good, and it can only be beneficial for the people that are in that group. And it's a place where you can start to have a sort of individual strength where you will begin to feed back to others, and this will be rewarding, and this will be your new entertainment and your new circus to explore. So I don't know why this come to me, I don't know if this made any sense, but I just thought it makes sense to me to break down the foggy belief systems that we have and the strange sort of split personality that we perceive, straight away, and the identity that we're looking for exists with the starting point, which is sadly usually a massive crisis, a massive traumatic event, a massive sort of feeling that can turn quite easily into a mental health condition and a physical problem. And I'm hoping that this story can highlight a different avenue where you're in control by letting go of the controlness that you thought that you had before, and to see how fragile and weak that was, and to go down a rabbit hole, not in fear and because you have to, because emotionally you have no choice, but because you choose to. You choose to question what's really real in the reality out there, and you will find all the answers out there if you look in the right places, and just by chance they happen to fall right in front of you when you least expect it. So I hope this was helpful to the mad people out there searching, and the mad split personalities out there that are just in complete confusion about what's really going on.